Alright, so as you can probably tell from the length alone, this is a bit of a different video where I and the Tactical Shark, a fellow Payday content creator who focuses on primarily solo runs and stealth guides and the like, are going to be talking about Skills 2.0 and the general skill system of Payday 3 as a whole, as well as just some other general gripes from the community that we got some feedback from. So, yeah. Without further ado, here's the 2 hours approximately of us talking. Hope you enjoy.
All right. What should we start with?
I guess introductions might as well be it. So, yeah, hi. I'm. This is gonna be a weird one because I'm doing this without a script. I haven't done that in months, literally. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's
just gonna
fine.
just gonna be off the cuff, talking about skills in general and just other stuff in Payday. But right now, primary focus, skills. Thoughts on them? What could be changed, improved, added, removed, all that. I guess the best place to
Yeah,
start would probably be the original skill system.
the original skills.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have forgotten most of those now.
Yeah, I
Let's
don't
open this
remember
up.
when I did it, but I did note down. Like, I tried to look through. I recorded a video basically of all of the older skills from the original system and basically cross checked it with 2.0 to see, like, which skills were removed. And a lot of them are. I'm surprised how many were kept, like, looking back and forth between them. Because, like, some of them
Yeah.
that were removed are just like, oh, yes, this is just. You gain one of the trifecta buffs, Edge, Grit, and Rush. And that's just. Yeah, no. We don't need those anymore because Edge, Grit, and Rush are gone.
Yeah, I think you can only get Edge, Grit, and Rush for a donut now, of all things, and that makes one of the achievements, I think, kind of like a pay-to-win achievement. I think you need Boys in Blue for that. I don't think there's any core heists with donuts in it.
There might not be. I mean, maybe the Smash and Grab version has a donut in it, and might. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah. I know you can still get a speed boost from Adrenaline, which is in the Con Man skills.
Yeah, it's
That's Thrill
in.
Seeker.
Yeah, in Con Man. Thrill Seeker, but it's only for when you're unmasked, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's no longer a temporary buff. I personally miss Rush. I can afford to lose Edge and Grit. It's just Rush for me. I think it would be nice if that came back alongside Dodge.
Yeah, like having it sort of be correlated to the dodge chance would be pretty cool.
I think it helps with Dodge, to be honest. And the Dodge symbol does share the same symbol as Rush.
Yeah, they did change it for whatever reason.
Made me think that they would add it back in the future. But Dodge This says for every skill equipped in the Ghost branch, gain a permanent 2% chance to dodge incoming damage. They could also put somewhere in there as well that it just gives you a fixed 10% movement speed.
Like a speed buff for however many points you have in the line or tree, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I think the core problem with Skills 2.0 that a lot of people have at the moment is ammo more than anything. It's a big problem that's come about ever since Operation Medic Bag, and that's when they reduce the amount of ammo you get back from killing cops in Overkill. That was in mid 2024, I believe, when they did Operation Medic Bag. So they started to make ammo more scarce and you had to consider it more. And that was because ammo funnel worked for everything, but it
Yeah,
only applies to assault rifles and LMGs now. So, with that considered and still being a thing today, it's kind of contradictory with them scaling cops' health and that these skills behind getting ammo back can cost you quite a lot just to be prepared. So, one of my problem areas is ammo. I personally don't have much of a problem with it, but in the long run, in some heists, it feels like you'll run out of ammo. I feel like the quicker the heist goes, the less chance you'll have of running out.
yeah, I can somewhat see where that's coming from, but I also am probably the rare chance, or the rare case where I don't actually, even in overkill difficulty, I never really run ammo negative at any point. It might just be because the way I have my build set up, but it's also just a thing of I never have to feel like, oh, I'm running low on ammo, I need to actually get this heist done quicker. It's just like, oh, alright, time to summon my overkill weapon.
Yeah, I don't think there's many areas specifically with ammo being a problem. You've got the ammo bag favor. You can also have it as a deployable. You can ace stockpile, which gives you like a load more ammo. I think it's like 80% when you ace it and 30% for the base.
Yeah, but that only changes the amount that you can carry at a time, not how much you get from kills.
Yeah.
Which it would be nice if the stockpile kills increased how many you got from picking up an ammo box, but that's more of a general change to Skills 2.0 that I think would just benefit a lot of things.
I think that would fit probably more into Spotlight, because when you kill a marked enemy, when you hit them with a flash grenade, you can actually get 2 ammo box worth back from an enemy. So instead of getting what normally for a weapon like the Tribune, which is one of my favorite secondaries, I tend to get 10 ammo back rather than 5. So in order to get a lot of ammo back nowadays, you have to play into flash grenades and also acing stockpile at the same time. And as long as you aim for the face, really, and use literally all of the flash grenade skills, you can remove a lot of the cop's armor straight away. I think where the ammo problem directly is, it's probably more tied to the default amount of ammo that weapons offer prior to any skills. And you've also got your armor type as well. I think the more plates you have on your armor, I think there's a bigger ammo capacity on that as well.
Yeah, that is actually true. That I think, like, I know 1 plate has the least and 4 plate has the most. I don't know what the specifics are for 2 and 3 plate, but it's like, yeah, there is a difference in how much ammo you can carry with each one.
For 1 plate, you actually lose 20% of your max ammo capacity, which I think is a big problem. A lot of people tend to run 1 plate because they love to have spatial awareness. You like to be able to kill a marked enemy and gain some of your health back, but that comes at a drawback of losing 20% of your ammo capacity. Having 2 plate doesn't actually give you an ammo capacity at all. It's only 3 plate and 4 plate. 3 plate gives 20% max ammo capacity and 4 plate gives 40%. So that's a big problem for me. It's with the armor. Armor for the 1 plate and 2 plate doesn't actually give you any ammo bonuses at all. It actually takes from you.
Yeah, that is a bit interesting though, but it's also just a fact of, do you think people use those armors because they like light armors or because they like the skills that benefit from the low amount of armor?
For the 1 plate, first aid kits replenish an additional 40 health points. See, when I play solo, and I do a lot of solo heists at the moment, and I'm beginning to struggle with doing loud heists, and that's probably more to do with the scaling of health on cops, which Starbury said they would never do. The extra 40 health points from the first aid kits are quite beneficial, but to me, it's not that useful because you can get so many of them. A lot of bathrooms, a lot of hostages you can trade as well. They all drop FAKs. You can essentially live off of just first aid kits. I've never really dropped a medic bag. If I do use it, it's just to replenish a down, but I don't tend to find myself getting downed any more than 4 times, which is how many times you can get downed over 1 plate before you go to custody. 3 downs is your max, the 4th kills you.
But honestly, I think I can see where the ammo problem comes from when a lot of people use the ones that don't benefit it, and I just think that I think the general, if nothing else, a band-aid fix would be to have the stockpile skills be like, here's 1 or 2 extra bullets if you ace it whenever you pick up an ammo box. Depending on the weapon type, of course, because it's like shotguns would have so much ammo if you got 2 extra bullets per box.
Definitely. I think ultimately to fix ammo in Skills 2.0, it's really simple. I don't think it has to necessarily be behind the skills. I think the skills itself is actually okay. I think the devs just need to increase the base amount of ammo that weapons have prior to any of these buffs and potentially make it so that one plate doesn't give extra ammo rather than taking 20% away. I think all armor types from one plate and onwards should go from 0%, 20%, 40%, and 60% based on how many plates you have. I think that would be a lot easier to manage because running one plate is quite detrimental to your gameplay. I don't tend to run out of ammo though because I have nearly 500 bullets in a tribune. I don't tend to run out really. I don't have much of a problem with ammo. A lot of people do, and I can understand that because there's a lot of weapons in this game ultimately that are very, very weak, and a lot of those at the moment are the assault rifles and the LMG. I Am Bread on Discord has pointed out several times that there's going to be buffs in peer-to-peer with the damage those weapons do, and the Car 4 and KU-59 are going to stand out as some of the best weapons in the game now. Their damage for all weapons almost nearly doubles. So I think that's going to add in a bit of a mix soon to what weapons may be viable against that scaling. It's inevitable the devs are going to keep scaling pop armor now. They said they would never do it, and here we now are.
Yeah.
They're now buffing cops armor plates, and the biggest problem to me is the dozers.
Yeah.
Not the cops themselves, because when you use flash grenade skills, you're taking half their armor layers away and you're dealing XYZ amount of extra damage with your secondary skills. If you have all the flash grenade skills on, that's even more powerful. You can get up to like 150% more damage added onto your secondaries. It's just a shame today, in order to survive overkill, you have to use your secondary. And it feels like the primaries today are very, very weak.
I do agree that like it is a bit annoying that you have to switch to your secondary a lot more, but I've not felt that, but it might just be because I run 4-plate more often than not, or when I'm running like a low armor plate. I can talk. When I'm running a small, like a 1 or 2 plate armor set, I usually have a weapon that has a really good ammo give and take, like a shotgun or a rifle. So I never feel that real decrease in the actual amount of ammo I have.
I think probably the best primary I see today in most of my games is the M7, which is the burst shotgun.
Yeah.
It's just very reliable at killing dozers, and if you use point blank and ace that and use the base skill annihilation and aim for the dozer's faceplate, you're killing them in half a mag, which is like 10 bullets in the mag if you have the extended mag on the M7. The dozers can die pretty easy to that shotgun, but why should we have to feel so restricted to the primary that we use? It's just a shame the shotguns still today are the dominant force, and I was hoping Skills 2.0 today would eradicate the very minute selection of weapons that are most viable. It's only now the devs are realizing, oh, we need to buff the assault rifles and the LMGs. Let's start doing that now in peer-to-peer, right when the intelligence of AI are going to get better as well. So this only furthermore tells the devs that the ammo needs to be sorted, because when you do heists today, you'll find some cops sometimes just standing around doing nothing, or they're just not engaging in combat. That's something that's not really going to be prevalent in peer-to-peer, which means you're going to have more pressure, there's going to be more guards, there's going to be more everything attacking you, and it's going to swallow through even more of your ammo sooner. So if there's any way for the devs to definitely fix ammo, I think it's definitely tweaking how much ammo you get from armor plates, and maybe increasing the base quantity of the weapon's ammo by at least, say, 75%. That way you're just in combat longer. You're not relying on someone else's ammo bag. If you're not even in a team or you're playing in an AI team, you're going to be running out of ammo sooner. So you need that bit more sustainability in the long run. Otherwise, you're just going to get overwhelmed sooner.
Yeah, I can agree on that. Even as somebody who has primarily, like on the build that I like using the most, I actually run the Chanted S3 assault rifle, the burst fire one. And
it's a good weapon.
It is.
It's a good weapon.
Like everything else just performs better in general. Like SMGs are really powerful, especially with armor plate, but they are kind of counterbalanced by they are the ones that eat ammo the quickest, which kind of exacerbates the problem.
Yeah, the Chanet's base weapon damage at the moment does 67, and at a range damage fall off it does 49. That's being buffed to 85 base damage and 70 out of fall off, so it's being increased by about 50%, near enough.
Yeah, that almost certainly means I'm gonna be able to single burst fire even a heavy SWAT that comes near me with the build I have set up, which I'm gonna be feeling really happy about.
It's good beforehand. I think they did this in Shopping Spree. I think they buffed the headshot multiplier, which is a good start at balancing damage, but why just headshot? I think all weapons need their base damage increase. So for me, as a console player, I can't always hit the face sometimes because we as console players, sometimes we tend to rely on the aim assist. And when you're aiming at something like a sniper, sometimes you find your aim gets lured away a little bit into something else closer to you. So having that bit extra damage across every weapon is great. The LMG in its own right is going to be absolutely insane. It does a base damage of 66 right now and its fall off is 31. That's going to go to 101 by 80. Its damage is in some areas 50% more, and at a distance its fall off won't be as detrimental. Its fall off damage is going to be halved. It's going to be great. LMGs already have like 1,000 ammo.
Yeah,
with
when
like
you
4-plate and having stockpile.
Even without the 4-plate, just acing stockpile gives you over 1,000 bullets.
Yeah, the LMG right now is not so much of a good weapon, but I think when peer-to-peer comes, I think the LMG is going to rise up. I think it's going to become more of a viable weapon again. It just depends on how great the next LMG is going to be, because they've been rumouring a new LMG since Smash and Grab, I think, and they've not released it. I remember Elizabeth on stream once said that the weapon's not quite ready, and that there's some problems with it they need to fix, but the wait's going to be worth it. I think the devs might have just forgot about the weapon now.
I sure hope not.
But I hope not as well. A second LMG would be great, considering there's an entire category for it now, which is another problem to me as well. Some of the players in the Discord find that why does ammo skills have to be a thing? It's something that can take up unnecessary points. If the weapon's base ammo capacity is increased, as I've suggested, I think that eliminates the potential need of those skills stockpile, and they could replace it with something else.
Yeah, I do agree on that.
Yeah, there's some skills I definitely miss, and for me it's a bit odd, unlike what everyone else wants. I preferably would love to see the looting skills return, the throwing skills. Looting bags quickly is important, and throwing them is important as well. And without them, the game feels very clunky right now, especially with the scaling going on. It feels like if you miss a bag and you're in a really heated situation, that could kill you. It can kill you.
Yeah, I can sort of see what you're saying in that. Like some of the older skills, like I have it noted down, catapult, which is just throw bags 30% farther. That I never found personal use out of them, but I can see where they could be useful, and I can understand why, like, the desire for them to come back as well.
Yeah, the soldier tree at the moment I think is in a really good place. I think specifically, but I don't find many people use ammo funnel, and if you're in a team today, there isn't really a need to use bastion or disengage. Those
Yeah.
skills I tend to find are quite expensive. They both cost 7 points each to ace it. So I think they should probably tweak the tier 4 skills, maybe all of them across the board by at least a point. A point makes a big difference, especially if you use Bastion aced. Most people use Bounty Hunter as well. They don't tend to ace that one. I tend to only use base Bounty Hunter just for the zappers and naders, but I think Bounty Hunter, gathering its recent nerf, I think it should probably, for the base skill, be 2 points and acing it 3. Flashpoint's Sunburn currently costs 4 points to ace it, and the Flash Grenade's tier 4 skill Sunburn is very strong. For each skill you have within the Flashpoint branch, the damage they take when they're affected by a flashbang goes up by 10%, and acing it, they lose half the armor layers. That's a valuable skill, and the price to me is fair, and they shouldn't ever nerf any of the skills within the Flash Grenade branch. I think the main problem areas come from tier 4. I think to put the cherry on top for everyone's builds, I think they're being really torn between, do they bring that detrimental skill or do they risk it all and not bring it at all? People have gone from using Bastion because disengage was basic. Now that it's aced, not many people are using disengage anymore. Not many people are acing or even acknowledging Bastion's existence anymore. They're saving themselves 7 points, but as we know it, zappers, cloakers, dozers, if handled incorrectly, it can end your game.
Yeah. I mean, that I'm pretty sure from what I remember hearing, that was sort of the goal with Skills 2.0, is like what is making people have to forcing them to make sacrifices in what kind of builds they want to make, but to this extent, I don't think it's what was intended. Like, to the sheer amount that it is, at the very least.
Yeah, I think right now, most people I speak to, I go, this build's Bastion friendly. It utilizes aced disengage, and as a solo player for me, I'm going to go straight for acing Bastion no matter what. Some people are like, you use aced Bastion? That's like so expensive. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's a game. It can end your game without it. And I think if they're not going to revert disengage back to the base skill, which is what some people want, I think they at least just need to tweak,
like, lower the cost.
How many points it costs? Yeah.
I think the sheer
all
amount of
tier 4.
Yeah, it's like you can barely get any of the tier 4 skills.
Yeah, I think all of the tier 4 skills, I think all of them just need. Yeah, I think all tier 4 skills just need a point taken off across the board, because that can save 1, 2, or maybe even 3 points, and that can allow you to get something else which actually benefits you.
Yeah, besides the ones for, like, for the one in Health Guru, I think that one. That's the medic bag tree, basically, which is just your medic bags max things out, and then it's just like, oh yeah, what was is it inspired from Payday 2 that's reminiscent of the aced effect?
I think so. I think.
Yeah, the one where you just revive people by putting down a medic bag.
Yeah, that can actually be done with Bounty Hunter as well. So if you get attacked by a cloaker, and someone pointed this out to me with Bounty Hunter, if you kill a cloaker with Bounty Hunter, I think somehow it resurrects you without the need of killing them somehow. I can't remember how it's done. Someone pointed out to me that you can just get yourself back up when a cloaker attacks you with Bounty Hunter. I don't know how it's done though.
I think it might be because cloakers in Bounty Hunter restore your health. Maybe that overwrites the fact that you're downed.
Potentially, I think, yeah, something like that. So in a way, that skill is kind of on Bounty Hunter as well. I think the overall consensus on Pill Pusher in the Conman branch, to me, I've never used any of the skills. None.
I consistently use the like I ace doctor's orders and then field medic 1 and 2 just so I have a maxed out medic bag, but that's pretty much it because mainly on the build that I have medic bags on is like I'm fully reliant on armor because it's like I have nothing to restore my health. I gotta make sure that I have as much medical supplies as possible.
Yeah, I mean, who actually aces Health Guru today? Does anyone use pain tolerance? The issue with adrenaline is it's so null void. Some people gain adrenaline back from using dodge if they use under pressure, I think it is. When you're at maximum health, those points are converted to adrenaline. Under pressure is almost kind of useless to ace because when you get adrenaline, you're very quickly going to lose it. And although it's kind of just like extra over health, is it really needed? Especially with pain tolerance, any damage inflicted on your adrenaline is reduced by 10%. That skill to me, pain tolerance, I don't feel it. That doesn't work for me. Scar tissue doesn't really work for me either. Your maximum health increases by 20 for each down you still have left. That skill to me is useless if you're using something like a 4-plate setup because you get that 2-second damage immunity whenever a plate breaks. You come into contact with a dozer, that's the biggest threat in the game. You're immune to them for 2 seconds. It allows you to kill them. At any point are you going to have to worry about something damaging your health unless something like a cloaker or a zapper gets you and you're not using something like disengage on Bastion? Is there ever a time you're really going to use any of these skills in Pill Pusher? I don't really feel it. It's the same as Cutthroat for me, really. I don't see the point in any of these throwing knife skills in Conman's branch either. I suppose you could life leech with them.
Yeah, that is what I do have with a build of mine where I get this, like I do have things where I experiment and actually utilize these things together. Like I had pain tolerance aced, but all of the skills I have in Conman are basically just the knife tree. But it's primarily just I can melee people with a knife and that gives me bonus health. And then I can just worry about getting out of there, and then I can just fall back on my armor when I'm out of the area.
Yeah, I think Pill Pusher, I think the devs intended that branch to go hand in hand with Imposter.
Yeah.
Seeing red is meant to work with something like pain tolerance, but with how much damage the cops do today versus how much we have and can take as players, adrenaline feels almost null void, and you're constantly losing your adrenaline as soon as you gain it. Does any of that make any difference with using Seeing Red? To me, that skill is also extremely pointless, and for 7 points as well, just to increase the damage bonus from your adrenaline to 5%. 7 points is a lot for a skill, to me, that is hardly ever used as well. I think the Conman tree entirely just needs a complete rework. None of it seems to work for me, and I don't use it in any build I have.
Yeah, well, I was about to say the problem I have, especially with Imposter, is that like the tier 1 skill and tier 4 skill, those are very clearly meant for loud, except for the ace of Adrenaline Junkie, which is just giving you adrenaline when you're unmasked. And then the rest of the skills are pretty much all about stealth. And it's just like, okay, what's the focus of this? Do you want me to use this in loud, stealth, a hybrid build? Like which one? Because it doesn't work in any of them. Except for stealth, which is just like, you know, you barely are investing into things anyway.
It's kind of the same with the ammo specialist in professional at the moment. every skill equipped in the ammo specialist branch will restore an additional 5% of ammo to all heisters, which I think is pretty cool if you have a player who's devoted to just ammo. But then that's one less player who can actually do something. If you ace the entire ammo specialist tree, that player effectively only has about 25 points left.
Yeah, I do want to say utility belts is a very good skill, though, because it's just like universally more throwables. If you're investing into either hostage skills or sniper skills, then utility belt is just like, hey, more stuff. That's good. And that's like a universal application that can be put on any build so long as you're going into one of the other two trees, which is just. I want more skills like that one, where it can be used in a lot more aspects.
For 2 points, that raises to 5 as well, which is probably one of the only good skills there is in that branch. I think people who run a grenade setup will probably benefit from utility belt, but I don't know many people that uses grenades today either. It seems to only be shot grenades, flash grenades, or shot grenades. I don't see many people running grenades.
Well,
I think,
I am probably one of the only people that does that now, and I have both human resources and utility belt.
yeah, about hostages, I genuinely miss the skill that allows you to hold a hostage, and when you throw them away, it restores an armor chunk. I think that was soft assets. You consume rush to repair armor when you throw away a hostage. And I think that's one of the skills I miss from 1.0. I didn't personally use it, but it was another way to regenerate your armor easily, which is what made something like adaptive armor great. Today in Skills 2.0,
Yeah, it was soft assets.
adaptive armor is useless. Yeah, adaptive armor today just feels absolutely useless. I think people are torn between either using impact to save some skill points or use resistance plates, and you can benefit from some skills in the Juggernaut tree like Armored Up. You run a load of armor bags. You don't ever really need to worry about your health.
Yeah. Like, I genuinely feel like Plate Up losing Plate Up kind of killed 99% of the adrenaline user base. And now it's just like you either run Blue Plate or Impact, and there's not really any in between. I feel like I'm probably the only person that legitimately uses Adaptive at this point, but that's also just because I'm a little nostalgic for it, admittedly.
Yeah, I miss Plate Up because that's the skill that allowed you to regenerate your armor just for shooting enemies. And I think without that, adaptive armor just feels useless now. And it has so much potential because back then, snipers weren't a problem. It took a long time for them to shoot you, but I think after like 2 seconds, I think they shoot you now. If you're an adaptive player today, your number one problem is snipers, and you know it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't see anyone running adaptive nowadays. It's either that being impact or resistance plating. I like impact one plate, and that's because I like to be able to take a sniper shot and run from one building to another. It works well for me, and that's probably more because console players have a harder time having to shoot a sniper today, that they just cannot consider some variation like adaptive plating, because it's so easy for a console player today to lose adaptive armor. Not so much for a PC player.
Yeah.
But that's the question of where could we fit something like Plate Up back into the game?
Yeah.
Where could we fit something like Looter back into the game so we could bag things 50% faster? Where's Catapult? I also miss Speed Hack as well, and that can fit greatly somewhere back into the hacker tree. It could go somewhere on Playback or Security Expert even, or even an additional thing to Tier 4. Like, there's some areas where you could fit Speed Hack back into the game. I think you could also probably put it somewhere into Conman as well. That's also relatively stealth based. I think some of the missing skills from 1.0, I think they can inherit as another benefit of some skills in 2.0. I think the devs right now don't really have an intention of adding in any more trees at the moment or any other branches. So I think if they want to fix something, add more balance, and give players a bit more free will to what they want to use,
Like
I
tweak what's
think
there.
they're probably tweak what's there. I think add in some skills from 1.0 that can go back into 2.0. I'm a strategist as well. Nowadays, you can only mark one enemy manually, and I loved the benefit of having up to 40%, I think it was, uh, longer marking time. I could mark up to 2 enemies. I think that's needed more now than ever today, because you're very limited to how many motion sensors you can use now as well. I think you can only have up to like 3.
I believe that's how it is as well. I'll have to double check, and I'm probably going to be putting it up on the screen right now.
Yeah, so motion sensors, they don't have a devoted branch at the moment. Neither do ECMs. ECMs, a purpose for that in Skills 2.0 needed to be added into Shopping Spree. And now it's Hacker from Payday 2 all over again. ECMs are better for loud. They're a great way of killing dozers at the moment. You can effectively stun a dozer for 5 seconds, which in some areas can eliminate the point of running 4-plate.
Yeah.
I think ECMs, they need to have their purpose back with being able to deploy them, pick them back up, and have them turn off cameras even as well. I genuinely missed that. And when the devs in April add in this unquote events thing, we need to look at, if they're adding in more modifiers, they need to be careful about this, because if they were to add in old modifiers like AI surveillance where you can't turn off cams, or they add in threat detection again where they could see you in a public space, they definitely need to look at making ECMs more viable again to counteract the modifiers that won't work so great with motion sensors. It's just tweaking a couple of little bits there as well. People find ECMs very redundant at the moment, and a great way of changing that is finding a skill within 2.0 where you can slot an additional benefit back into them. Give some skills that require more points, more value.
Yeah, that would make it a lot better in a lot of ways. Keeping on the topic of adjusting current skills to sort of bring back old ones, talked about this in one of the videos I made, but like extra protection and like the Juggernaut tree for the most part is fine. I still have problems with head guard because I said it in the video, but it's not really useful unless you're running a very low plate build, because that cooldown gets reset every time you get damaged even slightly. And with like the fact that the highest cooldown you can have for your armor regen is 12 seconds, that armor is not regenerating.
Yeah. Headguard for me, I tend to find works relatively okay right now. I don't mind acing it. I find the 0.6 seconds across the 3-second timer on my 1 impact plate I use, that's only 5 headshot kills, and when you flash grenade a small group of enemies, if you lose your armor, you're going to gain it back straight away.
Yeah.
It's definitely a problem with plates that scale. You're going to get shot by that one police officer that didn't get stunned, or that one cop that you quite missed.
Yeah.
And they reset that up to 12-second cooldown if you're stupid enough to run 4-plate impact today. Who would even dare? I mean, there definitely needs to be some room for change in headguard as well.
Yeah, the suggestion I'm pretty sure I made is basically change the timer, like headshot kills reduce armor regen time by 0.2 or 0.6 seconds. Make that on a per armor plate basis. Like, it's still 0.2 or 0.6 for 1 plate, but for 2 plate it would be 0.4 and 1.2.
Yeah.
It would be a much better way
sort
to balance
of like doubling it for each plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Especially right now, 4 plates. I don't see many people running it, and I think a lot of fear goes into snipers, which is why I'm kind of put away from full plate. I love being able to heal my health. Like, my faith is my armor, as Jacket says. I absolutely love being able to passively regain my health from a secondary. That works for me, but for some players, they love the utilization of going between both their primary and secondary. They want that balance. And running full plate for me, it doesn't quite work with head guard, especially for console players. And that's something I think the devs definitely need to consider. Headshots per kill on a cooldown reset basis, it's not enough to replace something like plate up, which I think is what headguard was kind of meant to replace. I think it was meant to replace plate up, which is per kill, your armor would just straight regenerate. This now is just headshot kills.
Yeah. Specifically, it was like when you pick up an ammo box, but you pick up an ammo box whenever you kill somebody anyway, because everybody ran ammo funnel and replenished, so it might as well have been instant.
Yeah, a lot of comments as well is that running and gunning should be a base kit. I think only for shotguns. I think
shotguns
and SMGs.
And shotguns and SMGs. Except
they're
shotguns.
the only weapon.
Yeah, shotguns is only, or the SMG reload and sprint is the ace effective on the run, which is just like, that's 7 points to reload an SMG while sprinting. Who would spend that?
It's something that, yes, should be a base mechanic. I think every weapon should have that running, reloading, and firing effect. I think every weapon should have that as a base skill. Not quite something that should just be based to the weapon. I think it should at least just be tied to tier 1 to start the tree. So at least you're spending 1 point, but not 7.
Yeah.
Not 7.
Because I think that's the same for shotguns, where 7 seconds or 7 skill points is where you get the sprinting while reloading, but you are also spending 3 points. You're also spending those points for more damage reduction while you reload, so you at least get something out of it, compared to Ninja, where it's just, here's a 4-point skill. It's just reloading while sprinting.
Yeah, I think there was a bug with Berserker recently as well. I don't think he was actually gaining the 50% damage reduction.
Yeah, that was
for that second.
I remember reading in one of the blog posts that was a problem that was fixed when they rolled out the second iteration, or the update to Skills 2.0, I believe, with Shopping Spree. So it is fixed now.
I think even 2.5 seconds, 50% less damage, I don't think it works. I think it should be ammo proportionate. I think for how much ammo, something like maybe for every 20% ammo missing from your shotgun's mag, I think you should have that 50% damage reduction scale by like 1.5 seconds or something. So if you have an extended mag, that's going to increase. I think the more ammo you have in your shotgun and the more ammo you have to reload by should determine how long you get a damage reduction after reloading. I think that would entice people more to spend the 7 points if they really are shotgun heavy. But for me personally, I don't go beyond tier 2. I just ace point it blank and use the basic skill of Stockpile for shotgun, and I ace cooling shotgun as well. I don't go beyond tier 2. Shotguns are very powerful at tier 2.
Yeah.
And all you need to use is an ECM. You can stun everyone in the area, and your shotgun is very effective when they can't even fire back anyway. So in my recent solo loud video I did in Delivery Charge, I used ECMs quite a bit and used the M7, which works really well at shooting a dozer in the face when they can't fight back. I think you kill them in like 4 bursts, which is like 12 bullets. It works quite well. But it's finding alternatives that work to kill dozers with their current scaling. It shouldn't just have to be a shotgun. And I do have a comment to read out from someone soon. They made a very good point that why should weapons in this game have skills tied to their own respective branches. Someone specifically commented that skills in this game should be tied to precision, accuracy, reloading, damage buffs, and those skill trees should be universal to every weapon.
I actually
like that idea.
I did have an idea similar to that, because it's like some of these ideas that I'm going to be talking about are basically me repeating myself from my older video, which again, on screen right now. But it's like, my initial idea for that was kind of basically the tier 2 and tier 3 skills for all of the weapon trees. Like, you know, you have speed loader and shotguns. It's like, let's just make that a universal skill for every gun, like every weapon in the game, where it's just like the more bullets you hit somebody with, the faster you reload. It was like, which would, especially would be really good for SMGs, but terrible for stuff like a sniper rifle by default. But it's like, I do still like the idea of the tier 1 skills being specifically for a weapon. It's like the more points you put into that tree, the better the weapon becomes. I do like that. It's just,
that I think
the implementation. Yeah, the implementation needs to be tweaked a bit, because like the downside I had was like, you know, the efficiency on the unintended weapon would be X amount for, you know, because it's like, I don't want the old ammo fun and replenish problem to come back where nobody ever had to reload.
Weapons felt very Hollywood in Skills 1.0, and a lot of problems that people have in games and movies nowadays is, why does a pistol have 40 rounds in it?
Yeah.
That's something that needed addressing in 1.0, and the issue is they tried to get rid of ammo funnel and replenish back in 1.0. I think this was when Neo was still around, and everyone threw a fit. The issue is, if people don't have their specific liking to ammo, it's just never going to work for everyone else. Without ammo funnel in 1.0, I think the community would have been in a lot of outrage, and they reverted it so quickly. But to know today it only works for assault rifles and LMGs, I think is a good step in the right direction. Ammo funnel just needs to have more meaning, and for that, the overall damage of those weapons just need to be buffed.
Yeah, and
because
that is
the
happening.
Effectiveness. Yeah, I'm glad that's finally happening in peer-to-peer, and I think that balances out the worth of ammo funnel. In order to make appropriate value from a weapon when you kill an enemy, you need to get about as much ammo back from that enemy when you kill them versus how much you spent killing them, which is why using flash grenades are so dependent on most players today. When you use Sunburn and ace that, and then combine that with something like Spotlight and use all of the other flash grenade skills, you're going to get double the ammo box returns when you kill flashbanged enemies. They're going to take double damage. They're going to lose half their armor layers. That eventually, for most weapons, especially in the future of assault rifles and LMGs, it's actually going to balance out how much ammo you get back versus how much it took to kill them. And that is something that needs to be prevalent across all weapons, especially something like SMGs, because SMGs today, they swallow through so much ammo. I haven't used the Ziv Commando in so long because although it's a great SMG and it won Magzadoza, not anymore. And not for long either. You don't get enough ammo in an SMG. I think in like, what, 6 mags? You've used all of it.
Yeah,
it's not enough to sustain. Right. It's not enough to last a heist for long at all. So for all weapons across the board, I think there should be some skills that universally benefit a weapon, because that way you don't have to spend skill points on both your primary and secondary, which can save a lot of crucial points for players if the devs were to make some of these skills universal. I think that would be a big change. I think it would change how many skills you use in a specific branch, because nowadays people only really tend to rely on 1 or 2 branches of the 6 there are, and there are some really good skills in some of these branches that people don't use. like utility belt is a tier 3 and ammo specialist. Not many people are going to use that because it takes 2, 4, 5. It's going to take about 7 points just to get there to use something that would fit in your build, but the rest of those skills below it don't. And that's an issue a lot of people have. I think while adjusting some skill point values, I think they also need to shuffle around where some of these skills are within their respective tiers. Like Stockpile, for me, that should be a universal skill, and that should be in Soldier. And that's because Soldier is a go-to branch that everyone uses to start their builds, and I think that should replace Armored Up in tier 2. I think Stockpile should just be a universal skill that gives you the 30 and 80% ammo buff for all weapon types, because you've still got Armored Up in tier 3 as well. And although that is based on just having 2 armor bags, why can't that just also have an added benefit in Aced, where it gives you however many more plates it requires to give you the full 6 that you can get within the armor bag? You can remove one of those Armored Up skills, make Stockpile a universal skill. This frees up essentially a skill in each category where the devs can add in something like Speed Hack again. They can add in Looter, they can add in Catapult again. They can add in some skills where we gain back our armor for killing a cop. Adrenaline is something that is null void, but what if we had adrenaline, even if it was just a tiny little amount, and we had a skill where if you had adrenaline, consume it to repair an armor plate? That would work. Adrenaline would finally have a purpose other than just being a 0.2 extra bit of health that does nothing for you. Make that bit of adrenaline have a purpose when you get it. Have it consume so that it repairs your armor plate. Adaptive plating would work again. People would start using that more.
Yeah, it's just like the funny thing about this, like for just my overall thoughts on Skills 2.0, more of like the skills for this game in general. I think the original skill system had 2 problems. The first one was that 85% of skills were tied to edge, grit, and rush, and that was just how well can you maintain all these buffs and make sure that everything is running properly so that you can get things done, which is just not fun when you're in there for at least even half an hour. It's just like, that's not fun to manage the entire time. And the other thing is just you have access to everything all the time, which is just, it's a cool idea, but in practice, everybody's going to run ammo funnel and replenish. Everybody's going to run transporter. Everybody's going to have the assassin's metal skill line so that they can get health restored from 1 plate. And it just that's a third of your skill points.
I think ammo funnel, I think let's keep it to assault rifles and LMGs. And if the devs were to add in the base mechanic of tier 1 of making it so your weapon in that dedicated tree, you can run and gun with it, reload with it, that in some areas eliminates the point of ammo funnel and replenish, because while you're running away and reloading, you're getting that efficiency effect.
Yeah, at the very least in the new system, which...
Yes.
To say going from skills 1.0 to 2.0, I think it's gone a little too far in the opposite direction, where instead of having all the freedom, it's too restricted.
Definitely. I think a lot of the important skills today, they're tier 3, and there's a lot of tiers prior to that for a lot of people, they consider it useless for them. And tier 1 and 2 is a big starting problem, because to get to the areas that matter at tier 3 and 4, you have to spend those unnecessary points. And I think if we were to reduce a burden on tier 1 and 2, I think they just need to add in some additional effects of these tier 1 and 2 skills that are either universal to all of your weapons, or ultimately allowing you to run and gun, which saves the point of having to acing at tier 4.
Yeah.
It tweaks and refines some skills. So if I personally, coming away from skills 2.0 with where it is currently, 6.5 out of 10. I personally don't have much of a problem with it, but that's because I found what works for me. But not everyone has, and that's okay, because coming into skills 2.0 it's confusing. A lot of people have quit the game because there's a lot of things you need to sacrifice to get one good thing back, and that one good thing might just not be enough when you've sacrificed 3 other things to make it happen. So I think for me, 6.5 out of 10 is generous.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. For me, I would probably say, if I had to give it a number, it'd probably be, that 6.5 or maybe even 7, but it definitely needs a lot of work to really get where it needs to be, because I've made some stupid builds with this, like, yes, I am a sniper with ammo bags and dodge.
Yeah,
like that's just ridiculous.
That's exactly what I used in Cook-Off. So Graze, to a degree, from Payday 2 has returned and is in the professional tree, and it's known as Ricochet now at tier 4. So whenever you kill an enemy, enemies within range take 80% of that original shot's damage, and that's when you ace it. 25% is the basic, and it's 1.5 meters of enemies within that one you kill. Graze, to a degree, is back, but rather than it just being an AoE long shot of damage that just trails through the map, it's split point to where the enemy is that you kill. Enemies within that enemy you kill die around them. That is what got me through my recent solo cook-off, and head games now is being nerfed in peer-to-peer. There's going to be a damage cap now, and it's 75%, and that's not going to be enough to kill a dozer now. But having it not have a stack limit at all is just as broken.
It's like, which
So
one is worse?
I think I had like 700 stacks of head games. My cook-off became normal difficulty, so I'm to a degree happy that they're capping the damage on head games. I think 75% might be a bit too low. I think it needs to be 100%, but 75% with where it currently is in peer-to-peer and testing it, it's still enough to kill every other cop type, and I think it free shots a shielder. But a dozer, it takes an entire mag, and it's not so bad if you run it with like ECMs. You can still kill them and maintain your stacks, but you're then using a whole mag, whereas before it only took 2 bullets because of the no stack limit. And this is the same with turrets as well. There was no stack on turrets. They're getting a 150% stack cap on its damage bonus per killed enemy now. And the issue with it is, if all players on your team were running turrets and you had 12 of them, something like cook-off or any heist, what you hold out in, becomes light work as long as you don't let the turrets overheat. The 150% is actually still really generous, because that is still enough to kill cops very quickly. The nerf itself is, again, just for dozers. The devs really, really want to make dozers a threat again.
Yeah. It's like, I do agree with that. Is the general idea of, like, they needed to have a cap. Is the cap where it should be?
Yeah, I definitely don't agree about the 75% head games. I think it needs to be 100%, just to maintain that overall efficiency of the weapon, and so it doesn't underbalance the return policy skill, where if you get a headshot, it will return a bullet to your mag, and that has a 2-second cooldown if you ace it. I think if the stacking of head games is too low, and you're killing a cop in 2 bullets and getting only 1 back, you're netting a negative of 1 bullet.
Yeah.
You need to either net no return at all, or still return the 1 bullet as a positive from killing that cop. So I think to balance out the nerfing on head games from where it is at 75%, I think they need to increase the bullet return to your mag to 2, because although you'll kill a cop, you're only getting 1 bullet back.
Yeah, and with something like the Spearfish or the Rheinfeld, you really feel that because you have to eject the shell manually every single time, and that's just like, it's such a terrible rate of fire, which is supposed to be counterbalanced with the sheer amount of damage it does, but when that damage doesn't one-shot kill, then something's wrong. Something wrong is happening.
Yeah, it's sad really, because the Spearfish was such a great and unique weapon when it arrived, and Skills 2.0 has effectively killed the weapon. Reloading a bullet 1 by 1 isn't effective. The only weapon that survives through these nerfs in peer-to-peer is the SA-144. It's the only weapon that survives all of the nerfs. Ricochet, ultimately, for how much it costs, with the head games nerf of 75%, I think they just need to increase that 80% of the original shot's damage to just straight up 100%. What much more of a difference is it going to make if you're nerfing the damage down to a cap? Honestly, acing it at that point, you might as well just make it 100%. That way, at least you get a bit of value from what you kill. Because in the instance, if the 80% doesn't kill some other cops around them, that's another bullet you're still going to have to use. So eventually, MMRs run out of ammo as well, even with the stockpile skill. What could replace the stockpile skill if we were to make it a universal one in the soldiery at tier 2, replacing armored up, as I've suggested? I think having stockpile universal is a great step in the right direction, because it will free up a skill slot per tree and per branch as well. That gives the devs the flexibility to add in something we want from the community. If they did another survey of what skills do we want to see back, the devs can add in that skill to replace stockpile. I think that's something they need to do, and if they do that, I think it's going to make Skills 2.0 just that bit better.
Yeah. I also feel like it would be a good idea to have something like that on the Soldier tree, because Soldier is one of the only pages in Skills 2.0 where I can legitimately see the point of side climbing. Especially if you're running assault rifles. It's like, you don't need to run armor bags and you don't need to run frag grenades, but you're still going to benefit from skills in the Grenadier and Juggernaut trees anyway. Which is just like, that's what the design of Skills 2.0 I think is supposed to be, but on every page.
And I think that's another interesting point as well, is with each tree, you can go between the skill points you want within those 3 branches. And I think another thing, if the devs were to change that as well, is why not make it so that is across the board for all 6 trees? Why not make it so if we were to get tier 1 in Juggernaut, why can't we then go to Hacker, which is in an entirely separate thing, and then go for a tier 2 somewhere in there? I think that's also going to give us a wider range of flexibility if the devs were to potentially scrap the idea maybe of flexibly going from one tree and then going entirely to a different branch in another tree. So if we were to ace extra protection in tier 1, why can't we then go to professional and then get something like skull trauma in tier 2 for marksman rifles?
The problem I see with that is sort of a similar thing with the original skill system, where it's a case of you have access to everything without any real drawback, because it's just like, we have said at this point multiple times how much Plate Up was a really good skill for adaptive armor, but what's weird about that is that in the original skill system, that was in the ammo pack tree.
Yeah.
Which is just that's kind of the definition of the problem of having access to everything all at once. Is this is one thing that's really good for one specific type of thing, but it's in something that's completely counterintuitive to that, which is something that I can understand wanting to avoid.
Yeah. Ultimately, Skills 2.0 has one unique thing that stands out in Payday 3 that doesn't in Payday 2. And the one thing we need to be grateful for is at least we can actually go between branches and have that bit of flexibility. That is
Yeah.
something Payday 3 offers that Payday 2 doesn't actually do.
Yeah, the side climbing
So,
is kind of the big appeal, supposed to be the big appeal of Skills 2.0, but it's just it's not utilized because everything is so particularly specialized on specific things. Like, what if I want to have more health damage dealt on my weapons, but I have armor bags, like, I'm using the Juggernaut tree and I want to get health damage on some weapon like a sniper rifle or an SMG or a handgun, but it's like I can't do that because they're locked to assault rifles and LMGs. Or something like
definitely.
the amount of armor or like breaking point. If I wanted to have that on handguns, I can't do that because it's locked to assault rifles, which is just very frustrating.
Yeah. I think ultimately to fix Skills 2.0, I think put all weapons at their respective tier 1s. I think add in the run and gun effect of running while shooting and reloading. I think that should just be tier 1. I think that should just be a basic skill. I think do away with the stockpile per category entirely. Make it a tier 2 skill in the Juggernaut page, replacing Armored Up 1.
Yeah.
Make it so that stockpile is universal for every weapon. That way you're not using it for two different weapons.
Yeah.
It saves a skill point, and that effectively gives the devs the flexibility of they can add in a new skill entirely for tier 2.
The thing I was going to say about that, every throwable has a stockpile for it. Like there's flashbangs, shot grenades, smoke grenades, frag grenades. The only one that doesn't is throwing knives, and I think they handle it the best, where the base skill is just for every skill point in the tree, you just get another one in
Yeah.
your loadout, which is just that's just the best way to handle it. Which is why I do enjoy having a throwing knife build. It's just like, yes, I have so many throwing knives that whenever I'm surrounded by something, I just do a quick melee and suddenly I have a full health bar of adrenaline.
Yeah, I think if they ultimately look at giving more value to tier 1 and tier 2, that gives people more of an incentive to use tier 4. But speaking of tier 4 alone, most of these viable skills require up to 7 points just to get one specific thing that a player wants. I think if they take a point off of each of those, I think it would add more value to everyone's builds straight away. I think for most people's builds, they're going to at least ace 2 of the tier 4 skills. So if they were to be 3 points for basic, 3 points for ace instead of 4, I think that can also save a lot of time and value. If the devs were to add in something like Plate Up again to replace some of these stockpile skills besides the throwable ones, they could add in something like Plate Up again, and that is something players will go for. That gives us more of a reason to use something like Adaptive again. With that being said, I think that's all they need to change to Skills 2.0 in my opinion. The ammo economy to me isn't that terrible. I think they just need to buff the base ammo of weapons, make the stockpile skill universal, and I think that'll be a better.
Handle it like the knife expert, where it's just the more skills you have in the tree, that's how much more ammo you can carry per weapon.
That can work as well. That's two great ways of getting more ammo back, especially if they buff the weapons as well. The one thing that devs said they would never do is scale the cop's health, and I think now that that damage is done, it's almost irreversible with the new skills system they have. So to counteract around that, because normal and hard is easy enough as it is, but you can tell the difference between very hard and overkill now, and we wanted this. We wanted overkill to be harder. It's now harder. but it's harder in ways that we didn't want, and it's also in ways that the devs said they wouldn't do. So to counteract the cop health scaling, I think they should probably, for the sake of what overkill is, revert the Operation Medic Bag effect, where they reduced how much ammo you get back per kill. I think they reduced it by like 50% in overkill for Operation Medic Bag. I think they need to do away with that entirely, especially with some armor plates not actually giving you an ammo capacity raise. 1 plate and 2 plate doesn't offer you any ammo capacity bonuses.
Yeah.
So I think that's genuinely it for Skills 2.0, really. I think with all of that considered, I think we could probably just move on to some of the other problems that other players have. And I do have a few comments, and it's mainly from people in the Discord. I tend to hover over the Discord and leave it open sometimes on my phone, but the Payday free chat can be quite weird, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It can be quite weird.
Yeah, general summary of like the problems with Skills 2.0. It's too restrictive. Like, I get why it's the way it is, but it's too specific, too particular. There's not enough ways to really spec things out, and it's just like the problem points are with quality of life things like sprinting and reloading, or the amount of ammo you get, or just how much damage things do in general. Just things like that, and bringing back some older skills and getting rid of some skills that are just really there for bloat. Like, I'm surprised I never mentioned Judo Chop. It's just the most useful skill of all.
Yeah, so I think ultimately, to conclude, I think reduce the tier 4 aced skill by 1 point. I think change tier 1 so that all weapons in the game have the basic mobility of running and gunning, reloading and shooting.
If at the very least reloading while sprinting.
Yes. I think change it so the stockpile skills are all entirely either tied to tier 1 with however many skills you have. You get a certain amount more of this and that, whether it's a throwable or ammo. And that makes way and improvement for them to add in more skills that we want. As I don't think right now the devs have the intention of adding in a new tree or branch to any of the existing ones. So
I would also think that they want to improve what's there already before adding new stuff.
I agree. So I think to fix that, I think they just need to look at tier 1 and tier 2, which is the starting point of everyone's builds. Some of these tier 1 and tier 2 effects have little meaning to players, and when you get to the more meaningful ones, they cost way too much, even though that's kind of the idea. I think tier 4 and its point distribution, I think it needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, it's just a touch too high.
I think reduce them all by a point, and I think you've got what you're looking for.
Well, at least the ones that cost 3 and 4 respectively. The ones with their 2 and 2 are fine.
Yeah, I think in some areas, if they could even potentially match that, I mean, Bounty Hunter's valuable. I think 3 and 3 is fine, but not 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And that's the same with Bastion and Disengage as well. Although 1 point return, if they were to reduce some points, it may not appeal to some people because some players are under the impression we need at least another 10 points. I disagree.
Yeah, I think
they just need to tinker around. Yeah. I think they just need to tinker around with what exists, and that will give us some points back.
Yeah, if they were to give us any amount of points at all, I would say 5 more at most. But it's also because 51 is a weird number to me.
Yeah, I think just that and the base damage of weapons as well. It's a good start that they're doing assault rifles and LMGs. I think they really need to look into SMGs carefully, because ammo distribution for SMGs, they are particularly at a drawback of the current ammo economy. I think the other weapons are okay and acceptable. SMGs are a problem.
Yeah. It's like if they're gonna add, remove stockpile and basically just make it like Knife Expert base, where it's just you get X amount more ammo for each skill in the tree. If every other weapon was 10% or so, SMGs should be 15 or 20%.
Definitely. Definitely that, and just doing away with the negative 20% on one plate, just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Make it 0%.
Yeah.
At least we're saving 20% of our ammo. A lot of people love 1 and 2 plate. We're
Yeah.
not getting anything.
Yeah.
So
like if I was gonna change those numbers, I'd say like 1 plate is 0, and then just add 10% for each extra armor plate you have in your frame.
yeah,
Like 10,
I think that works.
0, 10, 20, 30.
Yeah, I think that works. It's way better than negative 20%.
Yep. All right. Yeah.
So
With that said,
I
think it's
Yeah.
about time to move on to like what general issues other people have, because we did ask people. So we
yeah,
got some
I
other
don't know
people's
if you
input.
want to. I don't know if you want to. If you've got any questions saved, I kind of just copy and pasted some people's questions. I don't know if you did the same. So I think we could probably just take it in turns, answering someone's question or someone's problem.
Yeah, I don't really have anything specific, at least at the moment. I could probably pick something up because I do have a bunch of comments on my videos that I could sift through. So you go ahead.
Okay. I've got a few questions here. I'll just go through the ones that are probably more tied to Payday 3. I do have some people that would like to see some skills from Payday 2 come in, but I don't think that's quite what people would want. I think to make Payday 3 and give it an identity, which is what we're trying to accomplish here, I think we need to look at what Payday's history is for the third game, what we can bring back, what works now, and what we can improve. So I think specifically, just for this, I think we need to look at what works for Payday 3. So
Yeah.
I'll try and veer away from anything Payday 2 related, unless it makes complete sense.
Yeah. Like,
So
I mean, that's also kind of the mentality I have whenever I'm making a video talking about Payday 3, is just like, what's there now to be tweaked? Let's not worry about adding anything, like putting anything from someplace else, because that's a lot more work. It's just, let's adjust what's there now instead of worrying about
I
anything
agree.
new that'll just add more weight on top of it. And eventually one of them's going to be a straw that breaks the camel's back. And that's just bad for everybody.
Especially with fixing heists as well. The devs have a lot of work for them in the April time, I think it is.
Yeah, they
April
did
or
say
May time,
there
wherever
are
it was
heist
in their
reworks in
roadmap.
April.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of work cut out for them, and giving us more heists, we love that. We want that, but
More is good,
I
but
think
the ones that are there
more
need
is
work.
good. The ones that are there definitely need work. So I think these next 3 months are really, if they do it right, are gonna definitely give some heists some replayability, more refinement, and definitely more clearer instruction, because some heists are kind of, what am I doing? How does
Yeah.
it work? Something just doesn't quite work, and for that, a player never plays that heist again. There's only like a few specific heists within this game's pool that actually make sense, and something Safi said in a recent video is, for Payday 3, it is a bagging simulator. Every heist, besides 2, have a unique objective.
Yeah.
Houston Breakout is one example of a unique heist. Every other heist is unique to just bags. And the scaling of how many bags there are in today's heists, like delivery charge, shopping spree, I like those heists. They're doing something different. They're making favors buyable. Is it enough? I don't know. But how many bags there are,
There
that really,
are
really
so
plays.
many.
It plays into how long we can survive in a heist, and with the skills we have, is it enough, sort of thing. So I think we need to fix what's there first before adding in anything else much more fun.
Yeah.
So I think I'll just stick to the Payday 3 questions.
Yeah, that sounds good
So
to me.
from Discord, 7 with the T says, run and reload should be base design for all weapons. Was acceptable in 2007, but not today, and makes the game feel clunky.
Yeah.
We discussed this.
Yeah.
So we find, rather than it, at least for me, I find it shouldn't just be base design. I think it should at least require a skill point. So for me, I think it should be tier 1.
Yeah, I also agree with that as well, because sprint reload and like, giving something like sprint reload and also just here's more ammo for a tier 1 skill, that's a good reason to start investing into a weapon skill tree when you're going to want to use it.
Definitely. Ashley, the taxi insurgent, also from Discord, says add soft assets back, a skill where you consume rush to repair an armor chunk, then throw away a hostage. We also mentioned this as well.
Yeah.
I think
What we didn't really go
fit it back in.
into was the idea of there being a human shield skill tree, because it's like those are the skill lines that I remember hearing the most of that people miss are human shields, marking, and for myself I miss the ECM tree, where it's like you can put an ECM next to a camera and it disables it, which is so helpful for stealth.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a player in the Discord, I think their name's What Mage. I think they made their own custom sort of like skill trees and they displayed them in the Discord. I'll have to try and find them.
Yeah.
But he made at one point an interesting one about hostages, and it gave a load of benefits for having a hostage within your custody. And I think that would play very well into someone who specifically tailors to trading.
Yeah.
I think having some more hostage skills in the game
Yeah.
would definitely benefit, especially if it's also to repair armor. Rush isn't in the game anymore, but I think, as I said earlier, if you have adrenaline, it gives some of these skills like
a way to use adrenaline to repair your armor is what you said, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so it was pain tolerance. Any damage inflicted on your adrenaline is reduced by 10%. Any skills that benefit your adrenaline would actually have a purpose if you could then consume that to repair your armor. So instead of rush, consume your adrenaline. I think that could definitely bring soft assets back into the game, and that can repair your armor when you throw away a hostage. I think that would work because you're going to get adrenaline when you shoot at a hostage because the cops don't shoot back. You're going to store up some adrenaline. So that would work. I could see soft assets coming back.
I could also see something if we're adding in more, going away from like keeping what's there and saying like let's add new stuff. If there is going to be the return of a human shield skill tree in general, I really think professional would need to be rearranged because ammo bags being next to hostage trading is just like that's you had nowhere else to put this, didn't you?
Yeah, I honestly think for something like that, it would probably have made more sense if they just put it in Soldier. Somewhere in Soldier.
Yeah, that is true. Anyway.
Zupots from the Discord as well says Gunslinger in Skills 1.0 had such a cool focus on consistently swapping between your primary and secondary. Bringing back a skill like Locked and Loaded, for example, would be fun and refreshing ways to play loud, compared to just focusing on one gun. Not just Locked and Loaded, of course. If I had it my way, we'd have a full auto branch, precision branch, gun swap branch, hipfire branch, a marking branch, rather than just AR, sniper, shotgun, SMG, and pistol.
Yeah, I feel like maybe not those specifically, because the assault rifles or the assault rifle skills are focused on armor pen and health damage. The SMGs are focused on destroying armor. Shotguns is how much can you hit the same thing. Pistols is how much you mark things, and then snipers is precision. So kind of already have that, so long as the skills in tiers 2 and 3 are not locked to those specific weapon types.
Definitely. And with what I said earlier as well about removing Stockpile and just making it a universal skill to Juggernaut, I think with those missing skill slots that the devs can fill in, they could probably put in some skills somewhere, like Locked and Loaded, something that Zupots wants to see, to still, if they make those skills universal as well for all of the weapons, we could easily see some of these marking skills, precision skills, and Locked and Loaded skills that Zupots wants from Skills 1.0 back. The devs could add this back in these missing skill slots from making Stockpile a universal thing.
Yeah. I completely agree.
BR DJ says, bring back faster bagging and deployables. It feels slower. I have a personal problem with this.
Oh boy.
So, I used to speedrun First World Bank daily for 10 days, and this was when I was unemployed. There was a method at the time where you could overcap your renown and go beyond 1,600, and it was so much faster having something like speed hack, looter, and catapult, because that allowed you to bag things faster, throw them further, and hack QR codes and scan them 50% faster as well. Those missing skills, I'd love to see them reiterate that back into something like Beast of Burden, and in the hacker tree, Black Hat as well. They could definitely add speed hack back in there somewhere. Maybe put that into Hitman, replacing the stockpile handgun, considering, in my opinion, stockpile should be universal. Put speed hack or something like catapult in tier 2 instead for Hitman. And I think that works for me, because Black Hat, I use that for stealth. The Hitman tree is going to be fully accessible because we have that flexibility to go into another branch anyway. So I do not mind having catapult back in replacement of stockpile handgun. I can make that work in a stealth build.
Yeah.
Let's see. I Am Bread has a big statement.
Alright.
I Am Bread is very profound on his statements in the Discord. So he thinks the base skills of skills 2.0 is better than 1.0, but mechanics outside of damage and weapons should have more skills / be more coherent. Things like aiming down sights, hip fire have almost nothing, while human shields got shafted. I think they should have more skills, preferably not tied to weapons.
I mean, do I say it again? This would be solved by making a lot of the skills in the weapon trees, like again, the tier 2 and tier 3 ones, not locked behind. You can only use it on specific weapons, because quick draw is like you can swap weapons quicker and ADS much quicker, 25 and 70% for each version.
Like, why should quick draw have to be specific to a handgun? Why can't that be between primary and secondary, as Zupot says? I think that feeds in quite well to what Bread says as well, about having more skills, specifically not tied to weapons, but at least giving those weapons a bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
You can swap between the two and at least still have buffs tied to your weapons that aren't exactly specifically tied to loads of other skills. I mean, quick draw could work for every weapon.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be just handgun?
Yeah, like it would very clearly benefit snipers so well, but it's stuck on handguns. Well, it would benefit it aside from losing the stacks on head games, but for everything else about a sniper, it would be so nice.
Yeah, snipers, I have a problem with them, but again, this is a console thing, because aiming on console, you get a little tiny Joy-Con on your controller. The aiming in Payday 3 for console is a bit sloppy. They added in like loads of dead zones and stuff. I think this was also during Operation Medic Bag to try and make aiming a bit more coherent, and it's better and more acceptable now.
Yeah,
but there's still a couple of issues that restricts what weapons I would like to use, but just can't for the sake of how Payday 3 is structured. He also says, this brings me to my second point, weapon locked skills. This is a very polarizing topic as a lot of people either love it or hate it. I think there should be a compromise. Something I suggested before Skills 2.0 even released was a 7th page where one of the trees had generic buffs, but they were overall weaker and didn't necessarily play into a weapon's playstyle, AP, headshots, etc. To be able to have more generalist build instead of a specialized one to a unique weapon, you could also put transporter and scavenger in one of these trees and make the page the main one that you invest in, and then move on to specialization of your choice.
I don't. Again, we've been over this like 5 times now, but it's like making the tier 2 and tier 3 skills at the very least of the weapons would alleviate this.
Yeah. Something like scavenger in tier 3.
Yeah, like scavenger is clearly
Ammo
meant to be
pickups.
used for frag
Yeah.
grenades, but it can be used with any throwable, and that's why a lot of people like it. And it's also,
Yeah,
again, why I say
so-
soldier is one of the best designed trees of skills 2.0.
Yeah. That is more universal to everything. You can use scavenger for grenades, throwables. I think if we had more skills like that across all of the trees, this would alleviate some of the problems we have of weapons specification.
Yeah, it's like scavenger can be used for basically every throwable, except for throwing knives, because you don't want to bother with it. You don't want to gamble with throwing knives when you can just do either every 5 or every 3. You just guaranteed get one, because you're killing a bunch of enemies with throwing knives anyway. But that's the only one compared to all the other throwables.
Yeah. So I've not found the reason to use throwing knives in Loud, to be honest. And if I wanted more throwing knives, specifically to stealth, I would just run free plate. You get a throwable back every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a completely slept on plate type, and although you move slower and that can get you caught in stealth, having that extra throwing knife every 15 seconds makes a bigger impact for having an armor plate type versus going to something like cutthroat in the conman tree and just having every single damn skill on for knife expert. Why have more skills on to get more knives when for knives specifically you could just use a free plate?
Yeah, I have used that myself, like the 3 plate for infinite knives, because it's just like, I love being able to have portable distractions.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of throwing knives for stealth. Some people are like, use flash grenades. I don't get it. Why are they now inaudible? Whose idea was this? I don't use flash grenades in stealth. I would prefer to distract a guard with a throwing knife and then also potentially hack another one versus just throwing a load of flash grenades, stunning a guard, and then running away. It just seems more inconvenient to me. So I've never understood the inaudible flash grenade skill. I don't understand, and personally I think it just needs removing or reworking. Flash grenade shouldn't be a stealth choice. Doesn't work for me.
I don't know why they are that way either, but I haven't found a use for them either, but it's just so bizarre.
What was the skill in 1.0 anyway, when if you threw a knife it wouldn't break on impact? That, if the devs returned that as well, would work very well for skills 2.0 as well, because at least that way, if you didn't want to use free plate then that way, you could at least throw a knife, claim it back later. It saves the point of, again, having to distribute unnecessary skills, when if they just added in one skill that benefits the knife you currently have, you can claim it back. I think it also pierced through enemies though as well. I think that was the only problem. I think it still does today.
It still does pierce through enemies, yeah, but it doesn't. There's no throwing knife skill to keep them from breaking anymore.
And I think the devs would definitely benefit from adding that back in. It clears up a lot of the issues with throwing knife capacity, because normally for me, I've only got like 2 or 3 throwing knives, and then I'm effectively out unless I use free plate. Why not just add in a skill again where you can reclaim your throwing knife, bring it back?
Yeah.
I think it would work.
If it was going to fit into any of the skills that currently exist, I think fan throw would be the most fitting for it, where it's just like you can throw multiple at once, but you can pick them back up anyway.
Yep, I agree. It could be added in, definitely. maybe to the aced position
Maybe, yeah. Either way, on that skill slot.
on that skill slot specifically. But he also says, finally, the skill balancing itself is a bit weird. The soldier page is full of good skills. Any build can use Transporter, Scavenger, Bastion, while also giving free DR. Meanwhile, some pages like Conman, Professional are kinda arse and are very punishing to use, all over the place and too taxing for the former and unsynergistic for the latter, which makes some builds start on the back foot before building even begins.
Yeah. Like I've said before, and I'll say again, the imposter skill tree is so backwards. It's like 4 stealth skills and 2 loud skills, which are all focused on adrenaline, which is just cool. You overhealed, and now it's gone.
Yeah. It's good he also knows that the soldier tree is great. I think all 3 branches within soldier are good. I think that area requires the least work, to be honest. But he makes an interesting point. Pill pusher, imposter, and some of these trees in professional, they don't make any sense. And I definitely agree, because I'll say it again, who is going to use seeing red? Who uses that? You're never going to keep your adrenaline long enough for it to be viable. Adrenaline is just a quick placebo bullet sponge. You get shot by someone, you instantly lose that adrenaline, and the entire purpose of that potentially aced skill is gone.
Yeah.
7 points wasted. There's a lot of problems with Conman and Professional, and some of these skills just don't make any sense. And I think to make them more viable, these skills would benefit from a point reduction, or adding in something again from 1.0 that made sense. As I said earlier, something like when you're holding a hostage and throw them away, why not use that adrenaline and you claim your armor back? That adds some value to somewhere within the imposter or pill pusher trees. It's just little things like that. I think bringing back from skills 1.0 isn't necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of people find 1.0 better, and in some areas I agree, but I personally find skills 2.0 better.
Yeah, I think there are some skills in the original system that were better because they synergized with the systems available, but as a system overall, 2.0 I do think is better as well.
I agree. So I think ultimately what Payday 3 needs right now to succeed is ultimately change the way Tier 1 and Tier 2 works. Add in some old skills. Make movement for all of your weapons a Tier 1 skill. Running and reloading is important, and that shouldn't be a Tier 4 aced thing. That should be something basic. That should be Tier 1. Tier 2, do away with stockpile entirely. Make it a universal thing for every weapon type, because
And throwable.
it is just a copy. Yeah, it's just a copy and paste of one stockpile to another. It's 30%, 80%, 30%, 80%. Make it one skill, put it in soldier. It's the most perfected tree of all of them. Just remove armored up 1 and put that into armored up 2. And you've got so many free skill slots that the devs can either add in old ones or bring in new ones that actually synergize and make things like Conman and Professional actually work. And to conclude, I think just reduce the overall point costs of some of these tier 4 skills by at least a point. That way we have those couple more choices that can give us that edge against cops in these difficult times. Dozers with the armor scaling, the overall layer scaling of cops today. I think they've had like 1 or 2 additional layers that have been scaling.
The last, like it, when armor or skills 2.0 was first introduced, the normal SWAT was 4 armor layers and heavy was 5. Now, or at least on overkill, and now after shopping spree, normal SWAT are 6 and heavy SWAT are 7.
Yeah, so you can feel the difference between very hard and overkill now. And I think deep down that's what the devs are trying to go for. But
Yeah.
ultimately, we as players need to acknowledge as well that we did somewhat ask for this.
Yeah.
We asked for overkill to be harder. Some of us have told ourselves or each other that cops are too easy to kill. We can kill massive groups of them. They've effectively nerfed the ammo economy. They've scaled cop health. And although it's what they go against, and I know that, it to me is a necessary change. And although the cop health scales now, that not so much is a problem to me. It's how they can then adapt to the higher difficulties by reflecting on the skills we currently have that allow us to compete with such scaling. And if they do that for Skills 2.0, I think people are going to completely forget the fact that the devs went against their word and scaled cop health, because this is natural. This happened in Payday 2. Cops were tougher, scaling through difficulty. Why do the devs have to keep the cops to the same level of health for every difficulty?
Yeah.
Can you really feel the difference then? Even if they did peer-to-peer and cops were more intelligent, does that really, if you had the effects and dominance of something like Skills 1.0, does that really make overkill what it is today? And I think we need to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
So I think the devs were right to start scaling cop health, but I think what they didn't consider is that this genuinely makes it harder and contradicts themselves, because in Operation Medic Bag, they reduced ammo gains from killed cops. They've made snipers attack you a lot sooner. There's a lot of variances that can happen nowadays in Overkill that can end our game. And although it's not just ammo, it's cop scaling. And those two things together are why Skills 2.0 is a bit all over the place. A lot of the skills can be adjusted and tweaked. I don't think Skills 2.0 is terrible. I think the skills just need to have that bit more oomph. And I think the devs are more than fine to start scaling cop health, but they need to look into how we as players can be buffed as well.
Yeah.
If they ever want to make a 5th difficulty.
I honestly don't want to see a 5th difficulty, but I do think that as it is now, the balance is pretty much where it should be, because normal and hard are not going to be that difficult, because more often than not you're going to be playing those as a new player who doesn't have access to much of any skills, so it should be catered to that kind of experience, and then start scaling up when you have more skills. You're like, okay, now I can take on very hard, and then after you have everything, it's like, now's the time for overkill. Which is fine. And I think in terms of where the scaling is for the enemies going from those difficulties, I think it's pretty good where it is now. If players do get a little stronger, I'm not sure if I would say to increase the difficulty of overkill or just add in another difficulty, because once you add in one more difficulty, what's gonna stop them from putting in DSOD?
Yeah, I have told a couple of my friends personally that I can't see them adding in a 5th difficulty, and even though the devs have spoken about it, I think they said in one of the streams, if Armor 2.0 and Skills 2.0 still keeps the game easy, they would do a difficulty 5. I think the devs need to reevaluate that big time. If they do a 5th difficulty, that's going to send the community into chaos.
Yeah.
Overkill as itself, people are complaining with. Some people can't handle Skills 2.0 and Overkill. Why should we have a 5th difficulty if a small percent of this already small community believes that Overkill is easy? Why should we have a 5th difficulty? If there's anything they wanted to do difficulty based, they could either add in 1 down to Overkill,
or possibly
they
as
could
a
just
modifier,
add in,
actually. That would probably
as a
be
modifier.
a relatively
Or they could
reasonable way
just-
to do it.
Yeah, or they could just add in another difficulty between very hard and overkill.
More of a mediary difficulty, yeah.
More of a mediary difficulty. But I think if the devs have the thought of making new players too powerful in the normal and hard difficulties, I think the devs need to get behind that this is fine.
Yeah.
The
People
new
are
players
supposed
need
to
to
be
have
fine
that
on
level of
normal and
power.
hard.
Exactly. I think there shouldn't be a difficulty too great to normal or hard. I think players who start building up the ranks on Payday 3 should start to expect a challenge with very hard and overkill when modifiers and stuff come into play. Normal and hard, if the devs are worried about us being too powerful in the lower difficulties, potentially, they need to not think about that.
Yeah.
It's what we have in the harder difficulties that they're not changing, because that's prevalent across all of the difficulties. It's how we, as expert players who have all the skill points, how do we work with what we have to make the hardest difficulties work?
Yeah.
That's what they need to look at. And that's it, really.
Yeah, and I completely agree.
Yeah. I think that probably just about does it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Skills 2.0 is where it is. It's a difficult line between balance and imperfections. Overkill is the primary problem to Skills 2.0, and if the devs cannot manage where to fix what is wrong with Skills 2.0 for Overkill, there is no way at all I think they should consider a fifth difficulty. Not at all. I don't think Payday 3 needs a fifth difficulty. Not right now. Not anytime soon. Maybe in the future, if and when Payday 3 succeeds.
Yeah,
but not
maybe
now.
like years down the line if that ever happens.
Years down the line. A new difficulty, it's more than just what we have as a skill system and play set. Difficulties for Payday as a franchise is entirely based on lore as well. It's entirely based on story. When you go up in the difficulties in Payday 2, you start to see more special enemies of different factions known to Payday 2. And without there being much of a story or extra input other than skills to go into the game's core values, why should we consider a fifth difficulty if there's not even going to be like a new special enemy or new lore to compensate that? They need to work on what exists first, and then we can start looking forward at something new.
Yeah, I think that's the best place to leave it, is that what's there is a good starting point and needs to be worked on a lot more before it can be really good, before worrying about adding more things.
I agree. I think let's fix what we have first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was
Definitely.
It was great to have you on for this very unprofessional
Very,
video.
to be honest, I think a natural conversation online for everyone to hear and see, and everyone can leave their thoughts in the comments as well. How do you feel about something such as what we suggested today? Do you think our suggestions would work? Do you think it would save Skills 2.0? Do you want to see some more of this maybe in the future if Legon wanted to bring me back for a second
other
video?
content creators at all.
Exactly. I think with where Payday 3 is, I think content creation is just as important as ever right now. And Payday 2 has so much of that. Payday 3 doesn't. All of Payday 3's videos today are either negativity or videos that are years and years old. And I would urge anyone, if you play Payday 3 today, I urge you to get involved. Make a video, do anything, get the game out there and be part of a solution. Join the Discord as well and voice your opinions. Although the devs can be slow, they're trying, they're listening, and they're trying to make things work, and we just need to be there for them for that.
Yeah. I mean, to be entirely honest, I never intended to be a Payday content creator in general, but it's just like, I really had something I felt like saying, and it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm bored. I'm gonna do it.
Neither did I. Neither did I, to be honest. See, I started Payday 3 creation in 2025. March 3rd is when I started. And in less than a year, me and you have grown. The potential for Payday 3 is there, and we just need to keep trying to do that. And other great creators like Safi, Noli, they cover all of the news, all of the new things, all of the inside work. Great. They give their honest opinions, and it gives people that incentive of hope or just complete and utter despair. And we need more of that, I think, for the devs to understand where we need to go to make Payday 3 better. So I think this video was warranted, and I couldn't be any more grateful that you invited me, of all people, to make it happen. We just need to come together, really, put our opinions more online so that everyone, maybe all of the devs, can see it. Maybe they sit down one morning, they have a meeting, and maybe suddenly they're just watching this hour-long video and they think, these guys actually
sure it's gonna be way
make
more
some
than an
pretty
hour.
good ideas. Yeah, I mean, these people make some pretty good ideas, so why not listen to them? So if we know what we want, I think ultimately that's what the devs need to do to get Payday 3 going. I think they need to give us what we want, and Payday 3 will lift off. They put out a recent survey about a true offline mode, and a lot of people's eyes lit up to that. Offline mode is crucial, I think.
Yeah.
With where the game's service currently is, I think a lot of people are worried that EOS is going to happen.
Yeah.
And
it's just
the devs have said twice.
That sense of stability is something that an offline mode is going to give a lot of people.
Yeah, I think
I
to give
know it's
people
going to be a lot of work to make sure that everything's set up behind the scenes, but in the end, it will be worth it.
I think let's get peer-to-peer out the way first.
Yeah.
And I think finally the devs may consider taking solo mode finally out of beta and making it a true offline mode. After all, players want that security of what we do on Payday 3. If we choose to play it, let's at least make sure that that progress is finite and is saved. Even if EOS does happen, there needs to be a substance that Payday 3 can continue on, and offline mode is definitely needed. I think that and a lot of the fixes we need to Skills 2.0 combined, and whatever they have planned for replayability in April and these new quest lines that gives some form of progression, I think all of this considered, if they do it all together this year or in the coming year, it can save Payday 3.
Yeah. All right.
So I think that's just about it, really.
With that all out of the way, I do appreciate you coming on for this. It was very nice to just talk about this all in a more natural environment. It's good to write about it too and just read a script, but this is it's a very different feeling just talking about it without any prompting or anything like that.
I think talking about something from the heart is important rather than scripting it. I think better off as well. I think rather than talking about it on Discord where only a small handful of people can see it, put it out there in a video for everyone to see. And why not tag the devs in it? Maybe they'll see it, maybe they'll watch it, and they'll know that we too care about the game. We want to succeed. We particularly never intended to do Payday 3 content, but now here we are. Someone has to do it, and we're going to do it.
Yeah. So with all that said, I appreciate watching this, and hope you all take care.